So hi everyone, physically in 3D and also online in 2D. And so this is we are live streaming also on Instagram. It will be our lab's second attempt at Instagram IG. So we're excited for all the folks also joining us, and hopefully we're gonna do the best we can. To introduce myself, I am Cindy Sin-Lucao. I'm the director of the Hybrid Body Lab, also an assistant professor in human-centered design here at Human Ecology at Cornell. And it really has been, I think, a great honor and privilege of our lab to host Joe George, who is a multidisciplinary tattoo, but also multimedia and I would say even like body sculptural artist based in Brooklyn in our lab for the past 8 weeks. And this is part of Hybrid Body Lab's artist residency, in which we aim to invite every year an artist who specializes in working in the context of on-body design. So this means tattoo art, makeup art, broadly defined, to come into our lab and to really just be in our lab's environment and to take advantage really of the technological inventions that we've created for their art practice. And we really hope that this can become a mutually beneficial exchange in some ways for us to really learn about the intersections of tech and design and art, especially in this emerging space of the skin surface. And today, of course, our main dish will be Joe. He will be sharing with us his project developed during this 8-week residency. And everyone, every participant in my lab has had, I think, the good fortune of, seeing Joe in action. And I think it's been just an eye-opening experience for us. And so without further ado, Joe, I'm gonna hand over the mic to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Cindy. That was really nice. And thank you everyone for being here. It really means a lot, and hopefully it'll be a cool, interesting presentation. It's pretty off the cuff here, but I don't know. I'm just gonna follow my slides and do my best here. Also, just before I get started, I really just wanted to just give a shout out to every single person at the lab for I just know that inviting people into your space requires like a tremendous amount of like trust, and I've really felt that from everyone, and it's just feeling very welcomed by everyone. It's been a really fascinating experience. So yeah, I think a number of people were here at the first talk, which was primarily focused on kind of what I was bringing to the lab, and I was kind of asked to give a quick recap of that in case people weren't present at the last one. So I'm just really quickly kind of skimming through my Instagram, which serves as a kind of general portfolio. I studied painting at Pratt in 2015. I live in Brooklyn. I work in sculpture, tattooing, 3D modeling, painting. And yeah, my work just kind of took a turn toward the human body, and just kind of viewing skin and the body not much differently than like bronze or canvas or things like that. Especially with emerging technologies, I think that will be increasingly possible. So yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. This is like really quickly, just for an example, like this is a Photoshop or a MS Paint toolbox. These are things that I was thinking about upon coming in, these kind of like mods or installations on the body. Yeah, would you say I should keep going through, or should I move into my slides here? I got a lot of them. Okay, all right. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. Um, okay. Okay, so I'm starting at Walgreens. Um, this was this caught my eye. I love walking through stores, and just like kind of looking at the aisles. This is a hearing aid, and I didn't buy it right away. I kind of let it sit in my head for a while, but I was like, that's a, oh, thank you, good point. Um, yeah, I was like, well, that's a meaningful addition to the human body, and that's something that can like actually benefit people. So yeah, is there a way that I can see the next slide coming? I'm sure there is. I think I'm gonna wing it. Okay, so I really wanted to have tattooing be present in the work that I do here. Because I think that it has a lot in common with some of the goals and definitely the aesthetic goals of the lab. And so with regard to the hearing aid, I kind of just let that simmer in the back of my head for a while, and I started thinking about this tattoo motif that I always thought was so funny and cool, which is like an angel or a devil like whispering in your ear. Um, I just really like the trompe-l'oeil aspect of that. And then let's see. Okay, so yeah, so using Midjourney, if you guys are familiar with Midjourney, it's an AI image generator. And in the last few months, they developed the ability to instead of giving it text to image, you can actually just feed it images now. And you can feed it text as well. So here's a screen cap of me kind of drafting this kind of really vague idea of like what that could be like. So I just gave it this angel devil whispering in the back of an ear and a hearing aid, and I said, give me a hearing aid in the shape of an angel whispering into the ear. And it came out with some pretty bizarre stuff, but it kind of, the reason why I really like drafting with Midjourney is because it just gets you on the board. It just gets something on paper in a way. So let's see, I don't know why. So yeah, here's a few more of those. And I initially pictured this project being like back here, like, and then the more that I thought about it, the more that just doesn't really make sense with the shape of our ears. And so I started noticing that like a number of them have this shape to it, where there's this is like really millions of people have gotten this tattoo where they have this hand wrapped around the ear, and I thought that was really cool. So I started sculpting this in Blender. So this is image generated with AI hearing aid, and then these are tattoo references, and this was my kind of workspace in 3D. I had this ear here that I molded this angel around. So this is like actually like a human body in 3D. And you can see that it like I just didn't even pose this part, it's kind of in a T pose. And I just started kind of trying to wrap it around the ear, what that would be like in 3D. And this is kind of some progress shots of this. Like it looks pretty natural here, but this is actually it without the ear, and it's pretty contorted, but this is progress, and then this was a little further down the line. And then I use the ear to cut out what's called a boolean. So basically wherever the ear is, the angel gets erased. So, and then I 3D printed that, and I cut out the back so that a hearing aid could fit in it. And yeah, so I printed these in resin, which I knew that there was going to be a resin printer here. I didn't know how amazing it was going to be. And I really just immediately fell in love with 3D printing with resin. So yeah, here's the hearing aid. Here's me at 4 a.m, just taking shots of myself. I wish I could see the next slide. I'm really by the seat of my pants here, but yeah, so this is it sitting on the ear, and so I actually broke it the day before this shoot, and I glued it to the best of my ability, but this hand used to clip really nicely around the ear. But oh, thank you. You got that?
Is that better?
Yeah, I mean that definitely. Oh yeah, presenter notes. I'm not sure what that is. Thank you. Thanks, Cindy. Thank you, Janeway. Also, I'm not much of a public speaker, so if there's anything that catches your attention or you have questions about, like, I would love someone to interrupt or just.
Can you just go in a little bit about how you ended tattooing the one?
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, so I like really fell into that. I've been like drawing my whole life, and I after college I found work for like a few 5 years as a printmaker. And I would print mostly screen printing on a very large scale. Every table is 50 feet long. And I printed wallpaper actually, and it just got me thinking how to make how to get this image onto this in the most like verbatim manner possible. And that's kind of like the approach with which I applied to tattooing. I would say I take it from a very printmakerly perspective rather than like a drawery one. And I really try to make myself somewhat of like a human operation. Yeah, and friends were kind enough greedy enough to get my first one. So
Click here.
say that again. Sorry, what?
Click the next side and you show the next.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, so that was this piece. This was a hearing aid angel. All right. Yeah, so one thing that was like immediately clear to me when I got to the lab was that there was a lot of like instruments and equipment that I didn't have familiarity with, and I really it became like I knew right away that I didn't want to do one project. I wanted to kind of try to like dip my toes into as many mediums as possible, even if that meant that some of them were smaller and whatnot, because the goal was to have small ideas that could lead to more. So moving on to the next project. So this was more things that I made in Mid-Journey. These are things that I brought in to the lab. I made them a few days before I came here. And I was really thinking of these in terms of heating. I for some reason I think like something that would be useful on the body is something that can heat up. And I was thinking of these sinews or these wires as such, like that would be the shape of the circuit. And that was kind of my interest in that. And for some reason I really was really thinking about like the wiring of things. And I made these pinstripes, kind of like you might find on a car or like a back tattoo. And I was thinking about mold making, and I was trying to like wire shapes in these shapes, and it was I was kind of getting somewhere, but these molds were they weren't sitting right. The wires weren't right. Okay, this is a silly slide to go to next. I might come back to that. So, okay, I guess that's why that was there. Yeah, this is back at Walgreens, and then this was from the first talk that I gave. I was talking about the quad topology of the human body, like what the human body looks like when it's broken up into squares. And back at Walgreens, looking around at stuff, I found this icy hot patch, which I really, there's something to that there, and it shows what I was kind of talking about with the shape of the body. So right next to that, across the aisle, I found this. This isn't the exact one, but a heating blanket. And I kind of just bought it. It was some gross blanket, and I took it back to the lab, and I actually ripped out all the traces, and I just wanted to like just get somewhere just thinking about this idea of a hot wire. And hybrid body seems to name every project that they have, which I really like. It's really it's cool. So this project became Firewire in my head, like and that was so yeah, I was thinking about okay, I guess I went back to that. Yeah, the more that I said Firewire in my head, the more that I started. I'm just kind of trying to walk you through like how I got in there. Yeah, I started molding a wire in the shape of this, with the goal to be like a wearable tattoo that looked like Chester Bennington. So it became clear to me. I have no experience in electronics at all, and this might sound obvious, but I realized that it needed to be a one-liner. It needed to be one thing that didn't intersect with itself, because otherwise it would short circuit. So this flame, for example, it is one line that moves through. And so I started to make these one-liner shapes, and this was the thing that I based it on, is one of these pinstripes. And you can kind of see my progression. Like, this is pretty ugly, but I was trying to figure out how to make this thing that's based on like intersecting lines not intersect at all. And I wound up at this, which I was pretty happy with. I feel like it you don't even really notice that there's one line. And so yeah, I guess I was also thinking about heat still. And it's kind of a tramp stamp, and tramp stamps are inherently hot. So and then I was also thinking about things that are hot, and I thought of Charmander. And so these are kind of like the fidelity that I wanted to have. These one line, you can see this is all one line makes up this shape. And basically we found upon printing these out on conductive tape, which was Jeanline's excellent like material suggestion. That these were just too thin. They weren't able to get hot. So I had to simplify drastically, and this one got simplified to such a degree that I felt like it kind of lost some cohesion. But this one I felt like it's still pretty cool as a thick line. Oh yeah, here's just the process of working through that as a thick one-liner. These are cut out on a vinyl cutter, which I'd never used before. Really simple, clean machine. I really like the vinyl cutter. We were limited by the width of the conductive tape, so that was kind of, otherwise I feel like I could have done at one of the thinner ones. Okay, so yeah, this is a hot tramp stamp, basically. And this was a pretty, I felt like, yeah, totally. And so we coated the conductive tape in thermochromic pigment mixed into silicone. So it kind of had like a nice flex reusability to it. And the thermochromic aspect means that it changes color when exposed to heat. So this is it getting hot under a blow dryer, I think. And it just goes to white. And this is me applying it on Nancy, who is very kind to do this. And I think it looks pretty good. I'm really happy with it. Like it really kind of reads like a tattoo. And this is it on a mannequin, which I think it's so funny, like for some reason. Yeah, that's it hot there. Uh-oh. What we got? Oh, that's why it's not loading. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is I think just a really quick video to changing colors. You know what? That's okay. But just let it go. Okay, all right. But it's also flapping around. But that's okay. Let's see. Okay, so moving on to the next project. I have this. I tattoo a lot of vents on people because I'm obsessed with cars. And and robots, and I really just think it's funny to tattoo these fake vents into people. And people seem to really love it and want it. And so I just wanted, just as a one-off, just to do it. I wanted to make a wearable ventilation system like that. So again, Jing Wen, who's totally the right hand man the whole time, I found these kind of PC mini fans, and so this was just like a super early print that I tried to run. I didn't even really try to put much thought into it. I just wanted to see if it could even house the fans. And it gave me enough information to move on to the next one, which is more of like a kind of a peanut shape or something. But yeah, I cut these Boolean holes in it, and then there's actually a through the whole thing that that allows for wires. And then this was me preparing it in the software for the printer, which is the best 3D printing software I've ever used. This was a rough draft of the print in hard resin. And then during this time, we got this material that I've been looking into that is the printer is capable of printing, which is this called elastic 50A resin, and it's supposed to behave like silicon. And this was a material that I looked into quite a bit when I realized like the caliber of printer that I was working with. I hate mold making, so I didn't want to use silicone for like a lot of things. So this is it's a resin that is really flexible. And that's it fresh out of the printer. Like clearly very bendable. Yeah, this worked out pretty okay. Like all the fans spin. It has a nice breeze to it. It's just kind of a funny thing, and I think that one of the contributions of this is just really the material aspect of it. I think that there's something to that elastic resin, especially for its biocompatibility. Okay, I'm excited to talk about this next one. This is so I realized right away that at least when I got there, maybe not in a weak sense, but tessellations were talked about a lot in the lab. And you know, there's really only two shapes that can really tessellate, you know, which is a square and a triangle or a hexagon. And I really was trying to think about stranger shapes, more organic shapes. So this is like a Escher print, and I just traced it in 3D and extruded it, and was like, but this really kind of suffers from a lot of things that I feel like tessellations suffer from, which is that like they're linear, and no matter how many times you repeat the pattern, it'll stay linear. And as I said, probably too many times in my last talk, there's like no straight lines on the body. So it's like kind of like a grading, against the forms of the body. Later sometime my friend posted this picture of some bird. I thought it was like the funniest picture ever. And I started thinking about like animal scales, which is something that I've tattooed on large scales in the past. I guess no pun intended. But yeah, so I really love snakeskin. I love working with texture. So I started throwing again in Midjourney in the AI image generator. Just trying to kind of like sound out how scales might work as a wearable. And I was kind of feeding this some images and some text. Yeah, and I really felt like this one was kind of moving toward like what I was kind of thinking about. And that's why I use AI for things now, is because it's never going to give you like the final answer. It kind of I always say like it shows you how you don't want it to look, which I think is so useful. So yeah, this is me starting to kind of sound out what snakeskin. They're pretty much similarly verbatim to the last image, just made in 3D. This was the first print, and I kind of like, this was where I realized the scale of the printer was going to be a huge issue. You can see me trying to weave traces through it, which I thought could be cool, but these scales are just tiny, and it was rigid and not flexible. This was applying thermochromic ink to it just to see if it stuck, just to see if the binder would stick to it. And then this I like upped the scale by 2, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit more like handsome of a shape. And then I decided to remove the back of it entirely, and go bigger, just so I could print several. I could run like 3 prints a night, and it could tessellate together. And I started to arrive at this. And I like this as a tessellation. It's not really a tessellation, but it's a nice pattern that works on reptiles, and it could work on humans too. This is a project I was familiar with before the lab called Logic Ink. And it's basically senses UV light, and it tells you when you've had your share of sun, where it's like you're in like melanoma territory or something. But I think it looks so bad. Like, I think it's like I don't want people to look like an Apple store. Like, I never want that. And that's how I think of so many wearables. Like, so many things that I see on the body, they try to make it like as insultingly minimal as possible. And like, I think we're more interesting than that. So yeah, this is it on Lily, who was kind enough to model this. So yeah, it kind of like repeats indefinitely. If you needed to wrap the body, you could like mix and match the smaller shapes, and I could make it wrap if I wanted to. Yeah, this I painted all the edges, only the edges. I thought I really love the translucency of resin, and this is the flexible elastic resin as well. I painted only the edges because I wanted to maintain the translucency, and this is it being shown under UV light, and this is it under the sun. It turns bright purple, and I think it looks really cool. And it seemed to, despite it looking really little scary and obtrusive, I and Lily seemed to kind of forget it was on at some point, believe it or not, and really have pretty full range of motion. I kind of like, I angled all of these shapes so that even if you did like come into even if you did like bad up against it, it would like meet at like a kind of like a 45, you know, like. So I kind of like this no substrate idea. I don't know where to take it, but I think it looks cool to have the skin present underneath it. Yeah, here's just some more photos of it because I feel like this is one of those pieces that is just really photogenic. And yeah, it really the UV ink was like insanely reactive. Like if you stepped out into the sun, it was purple, and if you stepped in the shade, it was white, like immediately. And here's I think a video example of this. I'm gonna hit spacebar. Yeah, it turned pretty purple pretty quickly, and it's a little hard to see because the light's pretty harsh, but yeah, that was cool. And it just as a final thing, it kind of made me think of Mystique from X-Men. I've watched sci-fi all day long. I played tons of video games, and I'm always infinitely inspired by these characters that have inspired me my whole life. Like I really think this is like one of the highest examples of like hybrid body in the world. Like this person's skin like literally can morph into other skin. Like I mean that's something technologically we could shoot for in like 400 years, you know. So oh yeah, oh thank you, Lily.
There's also like actual sunlight in this room.
Oh yeah, maybe check it. Yeah, here, Lily's wearing it. I didn't even know she was wearing it.
I looked at it through a window earlier.
Yeah, I think it's actually a fair amount of slot that's coming with glass. Because I've tried that. But, nice. Oh yeah,
It also has a kind of like armor a little.
Yeah.
You know, like with like chainmail, how it's sort of like it moves with your body, but at the same time is like sort of reinforcing.
Yeah.
things.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
which is kind of cool to think about like how clothing could sort of be like.
Exact- I could see it like on like an Under Armour type material or something. I posted this on Instagram. A friend of mine was like, "Bro made an exoskeleton." I was like, "Cool, like that's the goal." So believe it or not, the resin itself, it was like this this elastic resin was kind of I learned it was somewhat of a prototype material, and it never fully cured, and it was able to stick really well into my skin. And then for Lily's demonstration, just because it was like a more legit photo shoot, we just used eyelash glue, which was just kind of like a purifier way to do it. Yeah, okay, that's enough Mystique. Okay, so moving on to this, oh yeah, feel free, yeah. Yeah, actually TPU is that's the material that I use most in Brooklyn. It's like an FDM, like a extruder based thing. I don't think that it has near the durability or flexibility of this elastic resin. Like I can print TPU on my like very consumer grade 3D printer, and this elastic the printer upstairs is it's really like it's a nice machine, and it works really differently. It's like photo resin, so even though just the resolution of it is 4K, because it's actually like just a screen like exposing layer by layer, instead of this like XY very mechanical motion of FDM printer. Yeah, I love TPU for what it is and will continue to use it. Yeah.
Were you working on all these projects at once, or were they kind of back to back?
Yeah, so I mean, the reason why I tried to show like a lot of a lot of kind of like stories behind them was because like, yeah, they really were. When I make things, like I don't know how it's gonna look, and I want to surprise myself in the making of it. Like I don't start out with like, this is gonna be this. Pretty much in most anything that I do. So yeah, they were kind of all, I would say that like, aside from the angel one, they all really bled into one another. And even the angel one was like using the same materials and whatnot, but yeah, I really like to let everything that I do, even things that aren't necessarily art related, really seep into one another. I think it's one of my favorite parts about like being alive is like letting things just really mesh together in an unexpected way. I like just on my PC, like I have like I have video games, like music and TV going while I'm doing all this stuff. Like I tab in between out of all of them, and I try to let them all talk to each other. And it kind of keeps the work funny to me and light. Okay, so yeah, this next project here, Ping Soon hooked up a really cool circuit with this, I don't even necessarily know what to call it, with I know it's called Skinlink, but I don't really know what, like it's a microcontroller with sensors and actuators. Boom. But so this circuit was really cool in that this is a proximity sensor, and it's got 4 LEDs, and it really simple, but the closer that you move your finger, it would show, this light would light up that, and so like I'm touching it there and all 4 lit up. And you could move your finger back and forth and it would undulate. And that was really cool. I got this not that long ago, and he's kind enough to, and trusting enough to like let me like mess with it. But I thought for like a whole weekend about what lights up brighter when you move closer to it. I kept thinking about like what does that? And the only thing that I thought of was the orc sword from Lord of the Rings. When orcs get close to it, it lights up blue, and I wanted this project to be kind of sculptural, like the angel. And I was kind of prepared to like model like a really like ornate sword like this, which I thought would be cool, but I just didn't feel like it like hit right. And I didn't feel like it was really doing justice to the functionality of the circuit. So I was like starting to think about it more like in terms of like possible usability, and I was thinking of, I used to have this as a kid. They didn't used to have lights on the screens, and you used to have to like light it with a lamp. I always loved these as a kid. I would mess with all, you could bend it all around and whatnot. And I was thinking about it in terms of drawing. I like write and draw in my sketchbook all day long. And I write at night too, and I hate having to have a light. So I was thinking about just having some type of appendage, some type of light on your hand coming off. And it kind of initially took shape as somewhat of like an anglerfish, somewhere between this and like an anglerfish. And it looked so weird in a bad way. And then I thought of a 6th finger that would come off, and I actually fully modeled and printed a few fingers with a hole in it so that the circuit could move through. And that looked even worse. So then I started to think about a lot of tattooers, myself formerly, will wear like a headlamp to just to get the light right where they need it to. And that was kind of So I took another 4 a.m. pic here, of me just kind of thinking about it elsewhere. This is my favorite show of all time, my favorite character, Star Trek Voyager. And I've always been amazed by this part right here. And I really like that form around the eye. So yeah, so I modeled these different kind of like Death Star sci-fi types of shapes. Or I just took a photo of the thing and modeled around it, and it came out pretty nicely around it. Like it fits pretty well. Here's just them with different mat caps, so you can see a little bit easier. I guess I included a picture of me applying it, which I think is really cool. I never get to see myself do this, and I'm really thankful for the ability, all the photographers that came through, so I don't know, it's a really cool document. Okay, so yeah, this is a flashlight that turns on when the lights are dark automatically. I asked Kingston to remove the proximity detector because I just didn't know how to work with it on like a conceptual level. And I asked for one of the other inputs that SkinLink offers is an ambient light sensor, and I was like, okay, I can work that I can do. And I just like was thinking about like just a flashlight that just turns on like in the dark. These are, I don't know, really simple augments that, and I feel like it looks pretty cool. It's I don't know, I chose probably the weirdest shape that I modeled, but I feel like it's kind of the most organic, and it kind of looks like the ear. And yeah, I really like, again, the translucency of the resin showing the light through it. It kind of looks like skin. I really like that. Okay, and here's a video of it working so well, to Pinkstone's credit. So you can't see anything in this light. There's just they're moving through. No, it's okay. They're basically the light's on right now, and it goes to like a 50% dim, and the light goes 50%, and it goes dark, and the light gets fully on. I'm just gonna try to play it one more time. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it. Thank you.
That was.
Oh, that's pretty good. Is that actually a TV? Okay. Trying to hit the old play button. It looks totally different on my screen. Cool, thank you. Yeah, I love that. Like it's
That's
like
cool.
so simple that it just works. It's just a flashlight that's on molded to your face. And then it's hands-free. I could tattoo with that. I could draw with that. I don't know, like I want some of them to be like really kind of arty, and some of them to be, you know, like maybe have some type of utility in the future somehow. And with all of these projects, I know exactly what I would not do next time. Like they're all prototypes. There's so many things that I want to change about this and make more interesting, and more functional, form fitting. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to kind of get the point across with a handful of ideas. Yeah, I would love to maybe open up, if anyone has any questions or anything or comments. Yeah.
I've been taking notes. So how do you imagine integrating these technologies into your 2D tattooing practice? Is there a way that you imagine hybridizing to make your tattoos move towards the utilitarian purpose rather than aesthetic?
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, do you mind repeating the question so those Zoom folks?
oh, sure. Yeah, it was, how do how do I intend on kind of bringing this 3D element to the 2D surface of the skin, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, like as you know, this is my partner Zane, who's been incredibly supportive of this whole scenario. I've already been mixing in these things a lot for the last quite a while. I forgot. What was the question? I'm
So like,
so
mm, so like how do you
Oh.
want to integrate so that your tattoos can serve a more utilitarian purpose rather than like aesthetic?
yeah. So there's a lot of things that I thought about upon getting to the lab. I was thinking about kind of a lot crazier stuff, and I actually spent the first 2-3 weeks experimenting with way crazier things that just didn't seem viable at all. I really want, I mean, the thing about tattoos is beautiful is that they
What are you doing, step bro?
Spent a lot of time researching the possibility of tattooing conductive traces into the skin. And as well as these pieces here, kind of how like the modules slot in. And I was thinking about dermal piercings. Like actually like if it went into the skin just like a piercing does, like on the eyebrow or something. And then you could mount it on there. I was thinking about sewing into the skin, literally sewing traces in like sutures. And I was practicing with with the sewing machine and sewing by hand. It was just all like kind of gruesome, and I was just like, I'm gonna just like keep that on the back burner and wait for technology to go a little further. Basically, I found that I was like looking into silver chloride to tattoo. We conducted literally with a geometry. And then I was looking about one of the materials, and that none of even silver, even not even thinking about tattooing the skin, none of them were able to hold a current underneath the layer of silicone that I was practicing myself. I don't know. I think I'm gonna continue to just try to blend everything together. Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
This is a question. Two, the first is, what was the first 3D program you used, and what programs do you use now besides Blender?
Yeah, I use the first program I used is Cracked Cinema 4D. It was really cool. It was really hard to find C4D files. And I was a pain to convert things. That was quite a few years ago. I don't really do any like type of like CAD necessarily. So I really find that Blender, especially I have like a plugin workflow where like my Blender is not necessarily free. Like I've probably put like $200 into it worth of plugins. Yeah, I would say I mean, I use like, I mean, for this entire lab, I was using Preform as the end of it, which is the Form Labs software. Yeah, I use Blender for mostly everything. It's so versatile. I heard it described as a Swiss Army knife the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's totally what it is. Yeah.
Do you think you'd ever shift from tattooing a bit and do commissions for projects like the hearing?
Whoever asked that, yes. Like that is hit me up. Like that is I've actually already recently I've taken on a number of like kind of specific like 3D printing related jobs. And I really like that. I would love to work with VFX artists, musicians, you know, performers and stuff. I feel like a lot of this stuff would look really cool and I would love to do custom made stuff. I'm good at doing custom made stuff. It's my favorite.
Can you talk a bit about like I'm doing for now and with this whole record body lab experience, and maybe like what surprised you most and what's the biggest lesson that you think?
Sure. That's the experience shattering. Yeah, it was been a extraordinarily eye-opening experience. Like I can't believe like how different it is. And it's been really cool, really informative. It's so different from the life that I live. And I'm really thankful for the glimpse into it. Yeah, it's just like a totally different world, and it like academia, right? Like it's kind of like a paradigm shift of my way of moving through the world. I'm a like avid documenter of things. I take photos of everything. I save all my projects 17 times, 17 different ways. I draw all day long. Poor Jinglen and Lily getting me to put something in the OneNote, but that just not even. In a way, I'm kind of like dyslexic about certain things. I can't focus on things like that, and I know that I can't. So yeah.
Can I ask you what you were really close to, what you wanted? What did you really feel you learned from her that you took from this?
Oh, so many things. There's so many materials that I had no interest in using at all. And Jingling would come over and just put it on my desk. And be like, no. And then like probably like 5 days later, I'd be like, maybe I should try that. And I did. And like I don't know, you showed me so many different things. I feel like kind of like a boot camp and like some electronics. I just yeah, and also it's just really been a pleasure like getting to know one another. I feel like yeah, I'm very thankful for doing that. Thank you. Yeah.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh, good question. Ooh, I forget which. I keep forgetting what I did. I think that I could crush this one in a second draft. I think if I could make it really cool. Round two. I think the snake seems a little cumbersome at the moment. I think there'd be different ways to apply it, but I love how photographed it is. It's nice when you make something that it just like sits really nicely for the picture. Yeah, I don't know. I like the automatic flashlight. I think the hearing aid is a kind of a special one. As I was making it, I just thought about my grandma, the whole who was deaf in 1 ear and went to church a couple times a week. And that was just kind of a special one. I don't know. There are a number of other projects I would have loved to have made with more time or more budget. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. What's your favorite?
I don't know, I do love to watch them.
Cool.
It's just like, I think I didn't get to see the process of it happening, so like it was more like a surprise for me.
Yeah,
Which I really.
cool. Thanks. Yeah, thanks to everyone for being here and listening. Tremendously grateful for this opportunity. Once thank you again, Cindy, so much. Thank you, Heather, for showing me all of it. It's just things strong. Yeah, Jingwen, on everyone. And I'm sorry, I'm naming everyone, but yeah, I really appreciate it. Okay, cool.
So let's give Joe another round of applause for his really it's amazing, I think, final presentation, and you can really see just like, I think we were just, really like stunned and but overwhelmed, but also just like, encouraged by his creativity and the range of projects. And I wanna just really also highlight the students in my lab, and I believe every student at this point had some interaction with Joe, and I think we really learned a lot from you as well.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for that. And last but not least, we want to acknowledge our sponsor, the National Science Foundation. And most importantly, so running this workshop would not have been possible without our student Jean. She's a PhD student in my lab, and she is really the lead coordinating everything and making everything happen. So Jean, and also Lily is our undergrad this summer, supporting us on this effort. So please let's give Joe and Jean and everyone participant another round of applause. And thank you so much everyone for joining. We will be Joe will be and us will be with our lab, we will be documenting each of these projects on our lab website, and for our sponsors request, we will also be open sourcing the process of how these are made. And so I really encourage, I think the goal is really to encourage more and more people to use these technologies in creative ways. And so thank you all for coming, for your time this lovely afternoon, and also to our folks who are joining online and also on live. Thanks, everyone. So till next time. Bye. Thank you. Thanks.